I really need to clean up my desk. Hey there, ladies and gents, welcome back to the vlog. My name is Drew. I hope you're having an amazing day, and we are back for another episode of Drew's Startup Vlog. Today's episode is going to be all about how do you find that $1 million idea, or how do you find that $1 billion idea maybe, and get started on a project or get started on creating something that can help people and make you a lot of money. And I think oftentimes when inventors sit down and they want to create something, or you're starting a business and you're trying to develop a product, but you don't really know what that product is yet, a lot of people get stuck in this kind of wheel of, oh, my product has to be innovative, it has to be I've never seen before, it has to be like truly individual, and it has to be executed in a way that's truly unique and everything like that, or else it doesn't have any value and it's not going to sell. That really couldn't be farther from the truth. And in today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about why that is, and why it is super duper easy to find a $1 million or a $1 billion idea. So, without further ado, let's jump into this. So, let's first start off with a little bit of back to school action. So, if you were to take an intro to business class, or any sort of just basic entrepreneur class, the first thing, or the first chapter on the first page of the first chapter of the first book that you ever read, they're probably going to talk about goods and services, needs, and market forces, and value, and stuff like that. All these really technical terms. And let me save you the trouble of having to read through all of that, and let me condense it down into one little sentence. A product addresses a need and thusly has value. So value is kind of arbitrary and set by how there's other forces that go into value, but fundamentally when you're trying to come up with an idea or develop a product, it should first and foremost address a need. Think about all the products that you use in your daily life, and your chances are that products that you use more frequently or more useful to you are the ones that address the most needs, or address in depth the biggest needs that you have. Just the same way, some of the products that you probably don't use on a regular basis don't really address a larger scope of needs. It's like one specific need, or it doesn't have any need at all. It's kind of just redundant or something like that, or outdated, obsolete. So, that in mind, when you're thinking about a product or what you want to do or how you want to start your business or what kind of thing you want to develop, don't think about what's going to be profitable or what has most value. Instead, look at the needs of the world and the needs of humanity and start from there. And I know that's a very existential quote, but I'll give you guys a quick story about how I started on Food for Group, or how I had the idea of Food for Group, and you'll find it's not as existential. It can be something that you observe every day and you just haven't realized it yet. So, but before that, I like to give you guys a quote or an overarching theme for the episode, and today's episode is going to be all around this idea of when you put value into the world, the money follows. And I promise you that's not going to be the last time that you hear me say that in this vlog, but when you put value into the world, the money will follow. So again, going back to the idea of products addressing needs and thus having value, when you address a need, the money follows. The value is set by the need that you're addressing with your product. So it all comes full circle here. And to give you guys an example of how all this works, let me tell you guys the story about how I came up with Food for Group. So back in the summer of 2013, I was working a really dead-end job. And I mean, like, this was one of the worst jobs that I ever had. I was working as a help desk associate for one of the bigger theater chains out there. And our leadership team just wasn't on the same page. Management was hugely micromanaging. I was belittled by my managers and some of the more senior employees. It just wasn't a good time. And I don't know why that was, but I was extremely young. Most of the guys on the help desk were probably in their late 20s, early 30s. At that point, I was only in my early 20s. I was probably 18, 19 at the time. And I remember going to lunch one day, and I went to Freebird's Burrito in Frisco, Texas. And I walked in and I noticed there's this lady. She was having trouble with this order list, and it was clear that people had kind of scribbled their orders down, and she was having to do the monotonous task of deciphering or decoding all of this hieroglyphic looking handwriting. And so I started to think there probably is a better way to do this. And the cogs started turning. I started thinking about it, and I just jumped into Android development because I had downloaded the Android SDK. I was kind of playing around with it, and like, I could probably build an app around that. So I let it kind of steam or let it kind of simmer until I got home, and I started talking to my mom. And one thing you guys should know about my mom is she is very much like, she's the realist or the rationalist, like on steroids. Like whenever I would have a crazy idea, she would bring me back. She'd be like, oh, you didn't think about this or think about that, or oh, you need to consider this before you do that. So very much she kept my ideas in check, because I'm a very, I don't want to say idealistic person, but I have a lot of ideas. And so she would always kind of keep them in check. So I'm sitting here working on my project or just working on some basic stuff, and she comes over and she's like, hey, what are you working on? I'm like, an app. And she's like, oh, what does your app do? Or what are you thinking? And I'm like, it's an app to help people coordinate order lists or digitize that process. She's like, And I'm like, okay, here it comes. She's gonna shoot me down or something like that. But she didn't. And so she was like, you know what? That's a really neat idea. I'd like to have something like that. I'm like, what? you legitimately are on board with this? She's like, yeah, seems like a pretty good idea. And I was like, holy shit. Like, my mom just gave me her blessing. Like, my mom doesn't agree with, well, I don't want to say she didn't agree with my ideas at any time, but like, she was very much vetting, or like, she was on board with this idea more so than the other crazy ideas that I had in the past. So it's like, okay, there's definitely a need here. Like, my mom has this need. And if my mom has this need, somebody else probably has this need. And so, like I said, when you put value into the world, the money follows. When you address a need with a product, you have value. So that's how I kind of got started. Over the years, the product evolved. We don't do online order lists anymore. We're actually a digital food platform that allows for online ordering for small business and things like that. So product evolution is a thing we'll talk about in another video. But just seeing that lady struggling with that order list and having a desire to help her, or like create something, or saying, hey, I can probably create something that addresses that issue, that's where that spark happens. And that's where you get $1 million and billion-dollar ideas. It's not the case that you come up with these ideas in a conference room where people are like, hey, how do we make more money? Or how do we make this more profitable? That usually isn't the most conducive place for innovation. You need to get out, you need to see how people are struggling, you need to see the needs of humanity, and then go from there. So that in mind, think about a time where you saw somebody struggling, or you saw something that was a little bit rough, or maybe something that was archaic, or it didn't seem like, it seems like there should be a solution to this, like a digital solution or some kind of piece of software that could fix this problem. And yeah, there you go. There's your $1 million idea, there's your $1 billion idea. And well, I don't want to say that right away. You'll have to do a little bit of research and vet your problem and kind of figure out, hey, is this problem ubiquitous enough, or does it have universality to where I can not just market it to this one person that I'm observing, but to multiple people? And there's some other things that you need to do. But chances are, when you start off, or when you notice something like that, like somebody struggling or somebody having a problem, chances are you can address that problem with your skill set, or you can evolve the problem or evolve the solution set to address that problem and maybe some other problems that you can render a service for. And it doesn't have to be software. If you notice that everybody in your neighborhood has lawns that are like this tall, then maybe start a landscaping company. I have a good friend named Luke, and he started a landscaping company when he was like 15, and he just sold it at 22 for a good chunk of change. So it doesn't have to be software. I realize that being a startup vlog or being a startup company, I'm going to talk a lot about software, but if you like mowing lawns, go mow lawns. If you like selling lemonade, make lemonade. If you like salsa, then go make salsa. And if you're doing that, be sure to get on the Food for Group for Business platform, because we have services for that can help you to expand your business, but that's a small plug, moving away from that. So yeah, again, people, you go to a party and there's like no salsa, or the salsa is pretty terrible at the chip table, then go make some salsa. If you're good at cooking, go make some salsa. So it doesn't have to be software, and it doesn't have to be a groundbreaking, like never before seen innovative product. In fact, most of the products in the world are iterative. This chair that I'm sitting in isn't innovative. It's still something that has a stand and something to sit in, and that's as old as time. Like, people have been making chairs since the caveman days. So, but still, I bought this chair, IKEA made money off of me, so their product addresses a need, and thusly it has value. So you see how this works. So don't worry about being the first to market on this new groundbreaking product that nobody's ever seen before and rocks your socks off. Most of, if not like 99% of the products in the world are iterative, or just somebody saying that I can do that better, or I can address this need in some better way. And before you know it, If you develop it and you put your heart into it and you market it and you are very, very shrewd in your negotiations, as Ed Boon from VinWiki would say, then you can make a very, very profitable living or a very, very profitable business off of something as simple as lemonade or landscaping or salsa or a digital food platform. So that's how you come up with $1 million or $1 billion idea. Just put some value into the world, find some need that people have, and go from there. Before you know it, you'll be evolving your product, you'll be selling it, and the rest will fall into place. So that's today's episode, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Feel free to leave a like if you enjoyed the video and leave a comment down below if you want to continue the conversation. And if you like this series and you want to keep up with us, we make new videos every Wednesday. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell as well. And we'll wrap up today's video in the normal way, and that is by me saying, always remember that you are wanted, you are loved, and you are appreciated. You have a special talent that nobody else has, and the world is waiting on you to bring it out. So muster a little courage, go out into the world, and change it. That's what the world's waiting on. You.